Last year, I made a video talking about everything I hate about new cars. I talked about how overcomplicated they are, how idiot-proof they are, how expensive they are to repair, how big they've got, and just generally that they were lacking character, that they were so good at doing absolutely everything from a really cheap city car right up to obviously big expensive saloon cars, that they just lacked any sort of character, any sort of personality, anything that made you smile, unless of course you buy something specifically meant for drivers. To find out if my thoughts on modern cars were actually justified, I decided to go and buy a modern car, live with it day to day as my daily driver for an extended period, to find out if all these massive ranty opinions I've got are actually correct, I suppose. I bought this, a 2012 Fiat Punto TwinAir. I bought it around about 2 months ago now, and I've been using it almost exclusively as my pretty much only form of transport ever since. I've used it as my daily, I've gone to work in it, I've gone to the gym in it, to the shops, picked my brother up from school, all the stuff you use a car for, with the occasional drive down a B road included, just to try and give this car as much opportunity as possible to make me smile and give me kind of that engagement and that connection that I felt with my Fiat Punto Sporting, my old car. I want to review now at this point in time with my ownership with the Punto, have I changed my mind? Am I still massively anti-modern car, or have I finally learned to love new stuff? Well, let's start with all the things that I moaned about in that original video. The first of which is how complicated they are, how many systems they've got that you don't need and that make them completely idiot-proof to use. This car has quite a lot of them. It's got stop-start, it's got its change gear light, it's got its eco mode, and it's got a whole plethora of information on the heads-up display in front of me here, just to kind of make sure that I know everything that's going on and I don't need to know anything about driving this car well to make sure that I'm just getting where I want to go in the most efficient fashion that it deems. I still don't like them. I don't like the change gear light because it's frankly way too stingy with how many revs it lets you have before asking you to change gear. I still don't like the eco mode because it doesn't seem to save pretty much any fuel, and instead it just kills pretty much any power this thing's got. The stop start, we'll leave the thoughts on that one to one side because frankly I'm not a fan of prematurely wearing out starter motors. And yeah, with all these automated systems the car's got to make things as easy as possible, there's not many that I can say I'm a fan of. The only one exception I will say is the tiny, tiny little things, and I'm talking so much as the information the car gives you as far as its health. It even tells you if you've blown a bulb, which one you've blown. I had a notification come up on the screen here a few weeks ago telling me that my reverse light was non-functional, and indeed I had blown a bulb out. That's useful. On an old car, the first hint that you get that your bulbs aren't working are either when someone tells you, when you fail your MOT, or when you crash into someone because they didn't see you reversing because your reverse light didn't come on. That I like, but to be honest, on the whole, with all these automated systems, with its city steering, which I do not like, just makes the steering way too light, all these automated systems, I'm still not a fan of them. I still think they take over unnecessarily, and this is a car, don't forget, with a manual gearbox and a normal handbrake. If I'd gone for something ultra modern with an automatic box, with an electric handbrake, I'd have even more to rant about because I'm not a fan of those either. This car, let's be fair, it is 7 years old, it doesn't have those, and my God am I grateful for that because not a fan. Really, really, really not a fan. One of the other things I talked about was how expensive they are to maintain. The example I gave was on most cars with an electric tailgate, you have to press the button to close them, and if you don't, you break it, it costs you hundreds if not thousands of pounds to fix. This car, with its repair costs, with its running costs, is just as bad. I stand by my point on this one. This isn't even a particularly modern or particularly high-tech or particularly high-end car, and yet, as we found out, the servicing costs are massively more than an equivalent older car. When I ran the sums on just doing your basic kind of first bought a car service and some new tyres and some new brakes, comparing this to my Fiat Punto, this came out at over double as much for just a basic service. That doesn't even factor in things like parts replacement, which would be massively more, and all the other costs associated with running a car, which on any modern car, even a relatively basic, relatively low down the pecking order car like this one, would be massively more than an equivalent older one. So I stand by my point, not only are they far too complicated, but those complicated features, when they go wrong, are still going to cost you a fortune. The next issue is their size. When you look about how much bigger everything is on a relatively modern car compared to even like a 10 or 15-year-old one like the Seicento, they are vast. Cars have got way more fat. Some of them, in some cases, got obese compared to their predecessors, but that is for something of a good reason. It is kind of a more push to safety. There's more airbags, there's more kind of collision detection and protection systems. The cars are going to be bigger as a result of all the safety tech they've got in them. This Punto is vast. Compared to even a previous generation Punto from the late 90s, early 2000s, it dwarfs it. And when you look at it next to the Seicento, you get an idea of how massive this thing really is. And as I said before, that size impacts on your driving experience. Rear three-quarter view, pretty much non-existent because of how thick those rear pillars are. This point down here, pretty much can't see anything at all because of this big thick pillar, and this bit here, the quarter light window you can see there does basically nothing. I can't even see that window when I'm sitting in my normal driving position, and everything about this car is enormous, even down to the little things. Like in my old car, if I want to check both wing mirrors, I can do it by just moving my eyes. I don't even have to actually turn my head. In this, even just to look in my own one, I've got a quite noticeable turn of the head to look at every single mirror. Because of the width of the thing, they're so far apart. Then there's the fact the car is physically wider, physically longer. It is a genuinely big car compared to cars of the Seicento era, where cars just knew how to be small. All right, they weren't as safe, but they weren't as obese either. And I stand by that point. This is a small car by modern standards, but it ain't a small car by my standards. As we've said before, there are benefits to newer cars. For a start is their fuel economy. I did a fuel economy test in this car comparing it identically to the Seicento. I kept the control the same, I had the same driver, I had the same petrol station even, I did the same distance roughly, and I did the same calculations to get my MPG results, and not only did this car fall considerably short of its claimed MPG figure, it fell short of my 15-year-old Seicento's MPG figure on the same run. All that stuff you've got, and it can't hit even 2/3 of its claimed MPG? All that outlay for not much reward. And I think that's a theme running through everything to do with living with a modern car. You've got all this perceived betterness. The car's bigger, so you're safer. You've got more airbags. You've got all the eco technology to make you safer. You've got so much integrated into the car to supposedly improve your experience. But a lot of it is just assuming that it is. A lot of it is hoping that it is. And a lot of it is saying, well, for example, the car's newer, of course it's going to be more efficient. It's not always a given, and I think that's one of the problems with new cars. We've got this almost placebo effect with them. We think they're going to be better because they're newer, because they've got all this technology, but not always. However, I do rant a lot about how modern cars have shortcomings, but there are certain things they do very, very well. Refinement, for example. One of the first proper videos I did with this car was an initial thoughts. I went on a 170-ish mile road trip in it on the motorway to see what I thought of it. Was it actually quantifiably and noticeably better than an old car for travelling long distance? And there's no question or shadow of doubt in my mind that it is. This car is fantastic long distance. It's comfortable, it's relaxing, the gear change is light, it's got plenty of pull. The stereo, as I keep saying, is brilliant. That stereo is just epic for a stock stereo. The air conditioning is brilliant, the seats are supportive, it's comfortable. It's a lovely, lovely car to do long distances in. And truth be told, for my drive to Poland soon, I would rather do the journey, do the actual driving in this than the Seicento. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, I'd want the Seicento before and I'd want the Seicento when I got there, but for actually doing the journey, for actually doing the driving, this would be wonderful. This would be a fantastic car. If you told me to drive to the top of Scotland in this now, drive to France, drive to Poland, wherever, no problems, my friend. I got comfort, I got a great stereo, I got my aircon, I've got a really lovely car to drive. And as much as it's not the most direct and the most precise and the most connected experience, because it is ultimately an eco-friendly city car, it's a lovely car to drive. The steering is super light, the gear change super light and direct, the clutch lovely, the brakes fantastic for a stock car that isn't fast. This is a genuinely lovely car to drive. Not exciting, not thrilling, not sharp, not aggressive, not hard, but easy and relaxing. And truth be told, because this isn't a performance car, it's not a hot hatch, it's just the car you want to get into at the end of your working day and drive home in, because ultimately that's what it is. It's a city car, it's an everyday, it's a daily driver. For doing that, this car is lovely. It's easy to drive, it's lightweight, it's stress-free. I genuinely love driving this thing long distance because it's such an easy, nice experience. It genuinely does everything really, really well. As a tool, it's brilliant. But that's it. It's not exciting, it's not thrilling, it doesn't make me smile, it doesn't really have any character. And I think that's maybe why I haven't bonded with this car. As a tool, it's brilliant. As a daily driver, it's fantastic. It does everything I could need an A to B car to do. As a daily driver, it's fantastic. But that's all it is. No character, no personality, nothing to really make me bond with it. It's a brilliant tool and a brilliant car, but that's all it is. So, I think it's time we move on from this very capable but soulless machinery and get back to small, bouncy, noisy, rattly, but oh so lovable little yellow nuggets. Thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you soon and have a good one.